Brandon Armature is a professor at Utah Valley University and a cybersecurity expert. He works with Suremark Digital, an online identity verification company that combats deepfakes and provides digital IDs for political candidates. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Before I even ask you a question, I'm going to say a lot of this comes down to all of us being vigilant and paying attention. One of the things that you do is teach people how to figure these things out. What do voters need to worry about? How do we spot these things?
So the first thing is actually a principle that's not necessarily new. But if you see something that is so outrageous or seems too good or too bad to be true, that should immediately put up red flags in your mind. Another thing is think about how difficult it would be to create this deepfake, right? So something that is maybe short form, you have, TikTok and Instagram Reels, which are these very short form media, or an image with voice over it,
right.
And it's something really outrageous. That should definitely set off alarm bells. Now, the other thing that I'll say out front is everything I'm going to cover is of things to look for. These are limitations that the technology has right now. 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, that may not be the case. We may get to a point very quickly where it is photorealistic. It's almost indiscernible. Now, the thing that I would say in terms of this election is we are probably going to see some hijinks and some issues arise in this current election, as we already have, unfortunately. But I think what we really need to be concerned about is at some point over the next couple of years, we're going to cross that photorealistic threshold.
Yeah.
And the future elections, 2026, 2028, could be very, very difficult if we don't get out in front of this.
And how do you get out in front of it?
So something that we are trying to do right now at UVU is, one, we want to launch this pilot program to start testing technology solutions for candidates to verify the content they put out. And two, one of the biggest problems is it's hard to quantify the problem. Oftentimes people ask me, well, how big of a problem is this? It's a very difficult thing to say, right? So one thing that we're doing is we're working with a neuroscience lab that is typically used to do marketing studies to test how effective are deepfakes in terms of how believable are they? What do people's brain scans look like when they're looking at it, responding to that versus authentic content? So we can try to measure, okay, how close are we to actually crossing that threshold? Are people actually buying this? Is this eliciting some kind of even an unconscious response that this is not authentic?
And what are you finding?
Thus far, we're still in the pre-study phase, but the one thing I will say is that the appetite for this has been absolutely massive in terms of a lot of people, regardless of sector, public sector, private sector, academia, are looking into the future, nonprofit are looking into the future and are seeing how big of a problem this could become very quickly.
So how easy is it to create, say, a voice clone of yourself?
Very easy. Very, very easy. It's a matter of seconds.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. All you need is about 10 to 30 seconds of clear, uninterrupted audio. And, you've got a pretty decent voice clone that you can run with.
So there are enough sounds in the words you can get in a 30-second sample to say all the words?
Yes. Yes.
That's scary. So you only need 30 seconds to clone somebody?
Not even. Sometimes it's much less. You could get a decent clone with 5 to 7 seconds.
Right. And back 6 months ago when I made mine, it took about 5 minutes of audio. So that's decreasing over time.
Because it wasn't 10 or 15 years ago that DJs were using soundboards of my voice where they would get words and phrases when people would call in and they would use my voice on this board to make up nonsensical sentences to tell people things. And now they could actually generate it with a sample.
Yeah.
And of course, they've got 20 years of sampling.
That's true.
Yeah.
For someone like me. All right, so can anyone be a victim of a deep fake? Now, someone here in our audience just did. Brandon will show us how, because he's been at work. This morning, Brandon met up with Jamie, a local talk radio host who was willing to participate in a demonstration to show just how easy it is for AI to manipulate your voice. Take a look.
All I really need from you is about 30 seconds of clear audio. So just speak slowly, clearly, and naturally. So don't feel any pressure. Tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe some things that you're interested in, and some things that you don't like.
Okay, cool. So my name is Jamie D. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised. I moved to Dallas, Texas 2 months ago, and I'm a live morning radio personality and recording artist. And some of my hobbies are playing volleyball, playing tennis. I'm a big foodie. I love to eat. Dallas has so many different restaurants, so I love everything about the food scene here in Dallas. I like to be social, so go out to bars and different events around town. Some things that I don't like, I would say I'm not into shopping as much, or rodeos, or going out to the ranch and wrangling cows and all this like that. But it's cool to watch. That's just not my everyday thing.
Okay, now that we've got these samples, all I'm really gonna be doing is running it through an algorithm, and it will be ready.
Nice.
There it is, it's done.
Already?
It's done.
Oh, wow, that's insane.
That was pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you were just talking in your regular voice, right?
Yeah, my regular Jamie D voice.
Okay. And so we gave you a little script you didn't have before. In fact, I worked on it a little bit myself. Let's see if we have him saying some things that he didn't say and probably would never say.
Welcome back to PBR on Merritt Street, the biggest and most exciting bull riding league in the world. We have all the top teams, from the Arizona Ridge Riders to the New York Mavericks. There's always plenty of action, upsets, spills, thrills, and excitement. And who will survive the 8 seconds? It's all here on Merritt Street. And the big news is I am riding a bull for the first time on national television. I can't wait.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'm excited to hear you're riding a bull.
Right, I'm like, went from saying I wouldn't be on a ranch at all to literally riding a bull today.
Yeah. So did it sound like you to you?
To me, no, because I know what my voice sounds like. I feel it in my body. But for somebody who doesn't talk to me every day or just get snippets of me, I can so see how that would confuse them.
You know, it's funny because oftentimes people say that the clone doesn't sound like them. So for example, I cloned a former governor. And he goes, that didn't sound like me at all. We showed it to his family, and his family all went, Dad, when did you record this?
Yeah. No, I listen to myself on television, and I have the same response every time. My God, spit it out. Come on, speed it up. It sounded like you to me, just from what
That's
I've heard.
scary.
Yeah.
Because again, when I hear myself on the radio, just like you, I'm like, I criticize my voice. I'm just like, ugh, that's just crazy. But just hearing my voice now, I can 100% see somebody believing that and taking that as I'm a bull rider. And I'm on Merritt Street right now on PBR. So it's kind of scary.
Well, we do have PBR. You are on Merritt Street, and we will have a bull for you coming up.
Sign me up. I'll be there.
I'm curious, how many of you in the studio audience here are concerned that during this election season, you could be duped by an AI? Raise your hand. Yeah, my hand's up, by the way. And I said it does come down to us to be vigilant, because we do get in the habit of, if we see something on the internet, you know, we don't open it up thinking, okay, I gotta watch out for this. We just open it up looking for information or relaxing at home, and we don't have our guard up. People on the internet, some of them are responsible, some are not, and some are outright psychopathic liars. And you just have to know there's the full gamut. When I put out information here on this platform, we fact check everything before we put it out. After we do the show, it goes back to what we call our brain room, and they review the transcripts. And if I misspoke or said anything that maybe I conflated two things accidentally, those fact checkers go through, check it again, and if it's wrong, we fix it or it doesn't go out. I wrote a book recently called We've Got Issues, how you can stand strong for America's soul and sanity. And that's how we met, actually. I was including some of Imran's research, and it was long and detailed, so I summarized it. And before I included it in the book, I contacted you, included the excerpt, asked if it accurately described the research, and asked your permission to include it in the book, which isn't required, but it's just what you do, right? And you said, yes, that's a good representation, and you do have my permission, and thank you for asking. Responsible people do that, right? But that's not who's on the internet. That's not what people do. They write things with the idea of influencing. So we just have to be careful and have our guard up. You gave some great things that we have to look for. We're going to put those on drphil.com, a list of them there so you can see. And if somebody is going to do something, it's very likely, you said the October surprise, what's going to come up. If there's going to be something where they're cloning and putting something out, it's probably going to be very close to the election. So the individual that's victimized doesn't have time to fight back, doesn't have time to offset. So just be aware, if there's some big news that comes out, and if it's coming out of the candidate's mouth real close to the election, be aware, I really need to cross-check this before I let it influence. We have to be doing our due diligence to verify if something is right or if it's not. There was just a letter that came out from Zuckerberg to Jim Jordan, the Department of Justice, saying, hey, apologize for letting the Democratic legislative branch influence us at Meta in the past. I looked at that and said, that's pretty groundbreaking information, but I need to find out, did he really write this letter? And we didn't say anything about it here until Jim Jordan confirmed that that was a real letter that came to him. I wasn't saying about that until I found out if it was real, if it was legit. You just have to be vigilant. That's all I'm saying.